Good morning, YouTube. This is Chuck, and as you can tell, I'm over at the old fire truck today, and I'm going to get the truck out and get it ready for the parade this coming Saturday. This is Wednesday, August 16th, and I've got a new friend here that's going to be my camera operator, and I just drafted her, and her name is Kim.
And Patty.
And Patty.
And Sasha.
And Sasha. Okay, I used to have a cat named Sasha. Anyway, she's going to be my camera operator. She's going to be my camera operator while I go ahead and pull the old truck out.
Sounds good.
Okay, so you got it?
You got it.
All right. First thing you got to do is get the door open.
Oh, so these are going to be the...
Yeah, he's going to do that for the parade, the rodeo parade. Yeah, he's going to drive it out. Back up a little bit here.
And folks, that's the way it's done. So we got a new camera operator, my new friend Kim, and that's how we get it out of there. I got to take it home and check it over, make sure it's going to be okay for the parade Saturday. So I'll be back with you here again pretty quick. Okay, now I'm back, I got the old fire truck over at my house okay, not a problem. And now I'm walking back over to the park to get my truck. So, let me tell you a little bit about our rodeo. Used to be a lot bigger deal than it is, but our town's kind of grown away from that. But back in the day, rodeo week, it was like the whole town kind of came to a halt. And but there's not as many rodeo fans as there used to be, and there's a lot of retired people here now, and a lot of people have other interests. But the rodeo, what they call it here, they call it the August Doings. And it's the oldest continuous rodeo in the USA. And the key word there is continuous. If you read my community post this morning, I talked a little bit about that, but just in case, I'll tell you about it again. And that was that there's a couple of rodeos that are older. The Prescott Rodeo is a year older than ours, and I think there's one in Texas somewhere that claims to be the oldest as well. But the difference there is that they both those places, they quit having their rodeo. They postponed it during World War I and World War II. Where here we were such an out-of-the-way backwoods place, and it was so hard to get to, that we had our rodeos anyway. So we're the oldest continuous one, even though there are a couple other rodeos that are probably a little older than we are. But they used to hold it right down on Main Street, and then they moved it up to I'm going to watch the curb here so I don't trip over the curb. Then they moved it out to what used to be the rodeo grounds, which is out at one of the parks now. Now they have the new, what they call the event center on the south end of town, and that's where the rodeo events are held now. But it's always the third weekend in August. Like I say, they call it August Doings. I got somebody building something here. I'm walking by a porta potty, so if you wonder what that big blue thing is. Anyways, they call it the August Doings, and it's been around since I believe 1884 or something like that. So it's been going on for a long time. But right now I'm just walking back over to get my truck, and so I'll be back with you when I get working on the old fire truck, and if I find anything wrong with it and see what needs to be fixed, I'll take you along for the ride on that. So I'll be back in a little bit. I live about 3/4 of a mile from the park, so it's not a bad walk. Well, it's later in the afternoon, and of course I got the old truck over here at the house and checking some stuff on the motor, and I bring it over here once a year before the rodeo parade and kind of go through it end to end. I've got to check the air in the tires. I haven't done that yet, but I'll tell you a little bit about the truck. I've talked about it in videos before, but some of those videos haven't been watched very much. But it's a 1943, and it's a World War II surplus Army truck. And so it's 80 years old. It got, the community somehow came to possession of it in 1946. So it's been here in town for 77 years. Now, the community members, it wasn't a fire truck when they got it. The community members put the old civil defense type pump on it. It's a World War II civil defense pump. Drove off the front crank pulley. And then they put the tank in it, which was somebody's fuel oil tank. But you can still see, when it's set out in the sun, you can see the olive drab paint there on the hood where the paint chalked away. And if you look real close, right up there, I think you can see the old U.S. Army numbers that showed through the paint. That's one of the reasons why we don't paint it. The motor is the original style of motor. 80 years, I don't doubt real seriously if it's the original one. But it's the original style, and it's a 6-cylinder overhead valve, 216 cubic inch, and Chevy made a zillion of them. They were known for not having, they did not have a full pressure oil system. And because of that, you have to be really, really careful, make sure you got plenty of oil in them, because if they get low on oil, they'll knock a rod bearing out real quick. They had poured Babbitt bearings. You can see this little thing right here, that's actually a fuel pressure regulator, and I put that on there because it has an electric fuel pump, and I replaced the fuel pump a few years ago, and the fuel pump I replaced it with put out too much pressure, and it was flooding it. The needle and seat in the carburetor wouldn't hold it back. But anyway, that's what the motor looks like. The inside is all pretty stock. Not much to it. I keep a battery tender on it when it's over at the museum to keep the battery up. I got to check the got to check the water level in the battery as well. And like always, this truck doesn't probably get over 25 miles a year put on it. And the other thing I got to always check is that that's the master cylinder for the brakes right there. And it seems like that always leaks down a little bit. So we pulled the transmission out a few years ago and sent it down to a specialty place and had it rebuilt. But the only real issue that I know of that it has is when it sits for a while, the right front brake pulls. And so one of these days, I don't know if I'll get a chance to do it this time, because I don't think it's a safety item no faster than it's going to go in the parade. But one of these days, that right front wheel's got to come off, and I got to check on that. We put new tires on it here a while back because the tires were really bad, dry rotted. But that's what it is. It's what it looks like. Got the historical plate. Now, we got just a little bit of rain today. You can see a few water spots there on the fender. And I thought it was going to rain pretty hard. The storm looked really bad, but it scooted by just to the east of us, and we just kind of got the edge of it. So there it is. I'll spend a little bit of time working on it and making sure that it's going to be okay for the parade. And it, like I say, it's a good old solid truck. I wouldn't want to try to jump in it and drive it to Amarillo, Texas or anything, but for putting around town here, it does just fine, and no more than it gets used. The old ladder on top is not the original ladder that was with it. I think I've also mentioned too that this truck, the community came in possession of it in 1946, and from 46 until 57, it was the community's only fire truck. It was still in service when I came on in 71. We had 2 of these old trucks, and we used them for brush trucks. We had newer, fancier ones, but we didn't want to get them all scratched up in the brush, so we had these 2 old beaters, and if we had to go off-road somewhere, these are the ones we'd take. And so it finally got, we finally sold it off to another fire department for $1 in 1974 when we took delivery on a new truck, and we literally didn't have room in the station for it anymore. So we sold it for $1. They ran it for a few years. They're about 5 miles north of us. And then they sold it at the museum for $1, and the museum's had it ever since. So I kind of get a kick out of the old thing. Everybody else down here is kind of scared to drive it because it's got the square gear transmission. You got to double clutch it, and starting it's a little bit of a trick, especially when it's cranky in the wintertime. But other than that, it's back when they built these trucks, they made them out of steel. It's a solid old truck. One of these days we're going to replace all the weather stripping. You can get all that stuff. There's a place online called Chevs of the 40s. And a lot of that stuff is available. And one of these days I keep thinking I'm gonna work on it. Right now it leads the parades, drives around a little bit, and I got to take it down and make sure it's got enough gas in it for the parade, and make sure that it's going to be fine. But other than that, I think for right now, I think I'll let you go for now. As I always tell you, take care of each other, love each other. I'll go ahead and get this loaded up. And once again, for the first phase of this, Kim, thank you for being my camera operator this morning. And for everybody else, we'll talk to you again real soon. So right now, I'll just tell you, peace out. Van's over there resting.